am Rebecca Munster from Rebecca Munster Designs. I'm located in the DC area. Usually I have my partner in crime with me, Debbie, but she is off conquering the world today, doing something super important. So she isn't able to join us, but she wanted me to make sure to tell all of you guys hello, and she misses you. And I'm sure you guys are going to miss our silly banter back and forth when we do this and all of Debbie's great ideas, but we've incorporated some of them in this. So today we're going to tackle motorization, which is a favorite topic of mine. And I think I like it so much because my first half of my career was spent in IT. So I spent 20 years in the IT field, and I've decided that I like motorization because I feel like it brings both of my careers together. Get to have some fun with technology while also designing beautiful window treatments. So we're going to hop on in. Now, motorization is something obviously that moves. So I'm going to share with you a couple of videos as we go, and they don't necessarily reflect like I like this brand better than that brand, because there's so many different brands that carry motorization and many different brands of motors. And we will talk about some of them, but I just picked videos that I thought helped illustrate some of the things that we were going to talk about. So I'm going to share this first one with you. All right, so as you hopefully got to see in that video was just the power of motorization as it comes up and down, and then the reasons why you might want to motorize. And it's always interesting when I bring up motorization with clients, or they bring it up with me and we're talking in a consultation, often it's sort of like there's two reactions. There's either they've come in with it and they love gadgets and they absolutely want motorization. That's really what they cared the most about. Or I bring up motorization, they're like, why would I want that, right? And so there are really good reasons why you may want to use motorization in your home. Obviously, hard to reach windows. So many of our beautiful bathrooms with tubs have gorgeous windows over top of them, and it looks really beautiful, but it's a pain climbing over that tub to open and close window treatments. Another popular one would be above your sink, because sometimes reaching across the kitchen sink, and I'm not very tall, that could get hard to open and close a window treatment. Two-story windows, two-story foyers, that strong afternoon sunlight coming in and having a hard time reaching it. So hard to reach windows are a great use of motorization. It's just easy to use. It makes life simple, right? Remember when we used to get up and change the channel on the television, and now we can use a remote? It's the same kind of thing with our window treatments. And sometimes, even if the window was not designed to be difficult to get to, how our furniture configuration is laid out might make it hard to get to it. So I know we've all been in houses, and it may even be this way in our own house. I know in my old house, I used to climb on top of the sofa to open and close window treatments behind my sofa in my family room. So just makes life easier. Voice automation. So there are times when using voice automation, your hands are dirty, you're in the kitchen, you know, that's a nice feature. And I'm going to share with you a story with a client where we used it and voice automation was actually necessary and really empowered her. So it was kind of a powerful, cool thing. I can't wait to share with you guys. If you're starting to build a smart home or you have a smart home, you know, many people have those Nest thermostats. That might be a reason because you can integrate different pieces. If you have lights that turn on and off with some sort of smart home or home automation system. And nowadays, you know, it used to be you'd have to like invest a fortune and get an IT guy, an electrician to come in your house to start to really build and put together a smart home for you. And nowadays, with technology and how far advanced it's come, you can really piece part it and create something pretty cool using a lot of different pieces and really apps on your phone. It's pretty amazing. Child safety is another big one. Again, I will tell you, I am short. So if you have tall ceilings in your home and you want to do cordless, for me, it means I can't get that shade up as high as I'd like to so that it's open and all the light comes in because I'm just so short. So, you know, you could do a continuous cord loop, which is safe, but some people don't want any cords at all. So motorization might be another good option. Home protection. When we talk about, we'll talk a little bit about scheduling and scenes and cool things you can do with the app. You know, when your blinds are opening and closing or your drapes are opening and closing while you're gone on vacation, it certainly helps with to keep your home safe and secure. Energy efficient. I don't know if you saw in the video, but you know, you can integrate with your Nest thermostat. So when the temperature inside the house starts to get above 72 degrees, all the shades close. Or you can schedule it in different parts. So in my house, the front of my house gets the hot afternoon sun. So I may schedule so that no matter where I am, what I'm doing, shades come down on the front of my house to protect from that hot afternoon sun and keep our energy costs down. So those are some reasons to motorize. And I'm sure you can think of more. Of course, you know, having the fun gadgets is good too. So I said about voice automation, and we did a really cool project. So we had a client, every year we set aside a little bit of all of our sales and our profit into a special fund that we use. It's called our an open window project. So once a year we do a project for someone, whether it's just bringing some hope into their lives or to help out, you know, with something that they need in their home. And so this particular person that lives here in my small town, she is a quadriplegic, and her mom wanted to redo her room. And as we got talking with her, we realized, you know, it's really hard for her being a quadriplegic. She can't open and close the window treatments herself. And she is in her early 20s. She wants to feel like she's independent and able to do. And so in this case, having voice automation and that ability to open them with her own voice was so important to her. And it was a like life changer for her. Now she can do that. She doesn't have to ask somebody to help her open and close her windows. So I'm going to share with you a little video. This is when we were training Alexa to open it so you can see what happens. You can hear Leah in the background. She was so excited. She can now open those shades all by herself, that was just a really fun project, and it was fun to be able to help her get that kind of independence. What are the things we need to consider for motorization? And I really broke it down into 3 different categories. When you're working with a window treatment consultant, they're really going to help you find what you need, put you in the right direction. But these are things that you as a consumer should really be aware of and think about. One is the product type. So what type of window treatment are you interested in? We can motorize just about anything there is. Shutters can get a little more complicated, meaning that not all the manufacturers motorize their shutters, but there are a couple out there that do it. So just narrowing down the product types you need. The other reason why product types is important as we're trying to drill down to what the full pictures and needs are is if we have to do a mix of motors, or do we want to try to stay with all the same brand of motors? So, some of them like Somfy does drapery rods and the motors that we need for shades and blinds and shutters. Others just do shades, blinds, and shutters and don't have the drapery rods. That is becoming less of an issue as technology is evolving, because you can use third-party apps to bring the different brands and types of motors together, but definitely something to think about. Wired or not wired? Well, just let me. So real quick, before I move off of product types, we can really do them in indoor and outdoor as well. So awnings can be motorized. Another great use of motorization is skylights. Nobody wants to use one of those long poles or get up on a ladder, whatever you have to do to open and close those skylights. So they're great to be used as a skylight. Another thing that's interesting from a skylight perspective, or just any shades and shutters in general, is that you can do it mounted on the outside as well. So if you don't want to mess with the interior aesthetic, and that can be motorized. We also can do bottom up roller shades. Those are a great option. They run a little bit more because you've got more motors involved. It's a tension system, but that is a pretty cool if you're trying to keep a really clean aesthetic throughout the house. It also, those tension systems work really great if you've got like an A-framed house with those triangular windows. You can pull shades up from the bottom and fill those odd size shapes. So there's a lot of different things that you can motorize. The next piece is wired or not wired. I think this is a piece that sometimes folks get stuck on and they get worried about, but my house isn't wired for motorization. How can I motorize without wires? Obviously, if you're doing a brand new home or you're getting ready to do a big renovation and you want to wire for motorization, you absolutely can. And there are some benefits to that. I would say in a residential application, is it enough for the extra expense? There's pros and cons to everything, right? So wired sometimes allow you to do really big roller shades, but I've done some pretty big ones in residential applications with battery operated that have worked fine. Commercial, that can get harder because some of those windows in those big fancy buildings really would require wired. If you aren't wired or you aren't planning on wiring, that doesn't mean you can't have motorization. You absolutely can. We have plenty of battery operated options. The one thing that's really not battery operated is drapery, but the easy thing about that is more often than not, our drapery panels, you just need an outlet. So the biggest expense you might have would be moving an outlet from one part of the wall to another so that the drapery panel hides it. And that's how draperies are great, because they hide it. Those motors are quieter. The wired motors tend to be a little quieter than the battery operated. One of my absolute favorites are the rechargeable battery operated. So it's this, a lithium ion type battery that you can just recharge. So you're not always buying batteries and throwing them away and all of that. It's rechargeable. Now, I don't want to have to change batteries all the time. I don't want to be recharging all the time. They last, a full charge should last you about a year. Now, how much it lasts you is all relative to how often you're opening and closing that shade. I will tell you, if you open it and close it, you know, in the morning you open it, in the evening you close it, you will definitely get a year out of it. And it's funny, I always, almost to the day, have my clients call me, Rebecca, my remote's not working. And I'm like, I look at the calendar. Oh, that was a year ago. They need to recharge. And it's time to recharge that battery. And I remind them of where their little charger is, and they go get it, and we get it recharged and get them going again. But a year is a long time. So it's not a painful process, you know, once a year to charge those. Another option would be a solar charge. So you have a little solar panel that you'd have to hide somewhere in that window discreetly. And it's got to be a window that gets enough light that that solar would actually keep those batteries charged and operated. So that's kind of, don't let wires get in your way. Don't let that keep you from motorization if motorization is something that you really want and care about. So the next component that we need to think about is home automation. If you already have a home automation system, or you're doing a full house system like a Control4 or a Savant or a Crestron, we would want to know that and talk about that up front, because we want to make sure that we choose motors and systems that are going to work with those and that have been proven to work with those and tested out. So I kind of, those are like the big ones that require, you know, lots of fancy IT people and things. You may instead want to consider, you know, it may just be like, I've got the Nest thermostat and I want to make sure I do everything. Or maybe I'm using Samsung Smart Things and I've started to piece together my home automation. Or maybe I've just got Alexa or Google Home and I'm starting to use that. And I just want to make sure it can integrate with that so that I can do it that way. So understanding and knowing either what you have currently or what you're planning. And if you're not planning for anything, your answer, it's okay if the answer is just, well, I have Alexa. I mean, if I could use it, that would be cool. But like, we really haven't started to do anything else. That's an okay answer too. I'd probably follow that up with, do you think you might in the future? So let's just keep that in mind as we're building our solution. So those are the important things that I want to know about before I can help you drill down onto what motors do need. So then now these are then the components of motorization, and there's 3 pieces. So just like there's 3 things we need to consider, now we've got 3 components we have to make decisions on as far as real products go. So the type of motor, the accessories, and then apps and integration. So this is where it's going to get into the really, really fun stuff. So what type of motor do you plan on using? There's lots of different brands, and then different manufacturers carry different brands. So we may have a manufacturer that carries multiple brands too. You know, if I order through Graber, I can get a Somfy motor, but I can also get one of their motors. So there's lots of different directions that you can take things. If I've decided that a shutter is what's most important to me, then I've got to make sure that we can pick a manufacturer that actually does motorized shutters and see what brands they have, and then can I incorporate the rest of my package. So you don't need to really worry about the shutter or the motor brands, but just so that you're aware of, there are multiple brands and multiple manufacturers. And so there's multiple ways we can solve your motorization challenges, bring that together. Accessories. So once you pick the motors and you pick the manufacturers, you're then going to choose your products and your fabrics and your materials. And once you've done all that, then we can start to talk about accessories. So the accessories can get pretty interesting. You need to have a because that's how you're going to get it up and down, and that's how we're going to do. Do you remember those old like pull roller shades that would flip around the top of the thing? Like, we don't want our motorized roller shade to do that. We want our motorized roller shade to stop exactly where we want it to stop. So we're going to use the remote, and we're going to set those limits, and we're going to program each shade into our remote control. And there's lots of different kinds of remotes, and you're going to pick the type of remote mostly based on the number of shades or motorized solutions you have in your house. So if I have 5 different windows with 5 different roller shades, then I need to make sure I've got a remote that I can put 5 on it. If you know this is phase one and you're going to be adding more later, you may want to consider like a 16 channel remote where you could put the whole house on a single remote or the whole floor on a single remote. Some people don't want to put everything on a single remote. They'd rather have a remote for each room. So just think about how you'd use it. You know, I will say one of the things about remotes is remotes get lost. So having, 10 of them in your house and having all 10 of them lost may not be helpful. And if you do the integration where you can do it on your tablet and your smartphone, you may find that you're using that more than you're using a remote. So you will need a remote, but you don't need a million of them. The next thing is wall switches. So like this wall switch right here in this picture, that I can add up to 5 channels on one single wall switch. It's not a wired wall switch. It's actually a wireless wall switch. So I don't have to call in an electrician. My installer can install that wherever you'd like it on the wall. And that is a nice option because it makes it really easy. You know, you don't have to worry about losing a remote. It's on the wall. Hit a button when you come in the room and it's going to open or close your shades or your draperies or your blinds. Chargers. If we're doing our rechargeable type motor, then you'll need a charger. And that's just something to think about. The chargers are not really expensive, but if once a year you're going to have to recharge and there's 3 shades in one room, you may want 3 chargers so you can plug them all in before you go to bed, and they all 3 will charge by the next morning. Again, those are things that you'll kind of figure out and talk through, but you'll definitely need chargers if you're doing rechargeable shades. And then the last piece on here I've got is the wind sensor and a sun sensor. So if you were doing an outdoor awning, a wind sensor or outdoor solar shades, a wind sensor is really helpful because once the wind gets up too high, it could really destroy your investment. And that wind sensor will sense the speed of the wind and know to close your solar shades or your awnings and protect those for you. And then a sun sensor, and it's interesting, the sun sensor I believe was invented before the phone app was. So it really tracks kind of where the sun is and the intensity of the sun, and then you can set it so that when the sunlight is direct, it would close your shades and things like that. You're also able to do a lot of that in the app now. So the sun sensor, I think if you lived in hot Arizona, you may find that sun sensor was totally invaluable, but there's a lot you can do with the app too if you didn't want to invest in a full sensor. So those are some of the accessories. So after you've picked out your product and we figured out which motors we need, you'd want to start to dig into the accessories. And with my clients, I generally put together what I call a motorization plan with them. So we create a full matrix of each of the rooms, and then we start trying to figure out, okay, for this room, how are we going to use it? What do we need? Can we use the remote we're using for this floor? Do you want a separate remote for that room? And then you may have different needs from room to room depending on who's going to be using it. Apps and integration. So this is my favorite part of motorization. I think it's the power in motorization. I think it's what makes motorization really neat and really special. You can get a remote to turn on anything today, right? Like you go to the store and you buy one of those fake candles. It's got a remote. I just bought some of those fairy lights to put in my daughter's egg chair. It's got a remote. I mean, everything comes with a remote. A remote is not special anymore. What's really special is the and what these apps. I'm going to show you a video so you can have them. Something has an app. Hunter Douglas has an app. Everybody's got an app, and they all do very similar things. All right. So with those apps and integration, there's a lot you can do. There will be a hardware component that you'll need. So, there's something like this is what is used with the Graber. This box down here, that's what Somfy uses. It's called the MyLink. I think Worley's uses the hub. So there will be some component of hardware that you'll need in order to use the app. Once you have the hardware, it's plug and play. It's pretty easy. You'll plug in that hardware, and then you'll open up the app on your phone or your tablet, and there's a wizard that'll walk you through connecting the different shades or draperies that you've programmed on your remote onto and getting those onto your phone. And I always do that for my clients. I get that all set up for them. And then you can start to do the fun stuff. So you can create schedules. The client in DC, she is an actor. She works different shift. Her gorgeous condo, it's all windows. So she didn't like coming home at night and turning on the light and feeling like she was a fishbowl and everybody could see her. So we set her shades. We created a schedule that it would lower the shades at sunset. So the app knows when sunset is, and it changes throughout the course of the year. And at sunset, those shades would come down. So when she would come home, depending whatever shift she was working, she knew she could walk in, turn the lights on, and not feel like she was exposed and the whole world was watching her. So, those are some fun ways that you can do that. I have another client who likes to raise her teenage son's windows at about 10 a.m. because she thinks he should get up by then. And that is a great way to make sure that he wakes up. You can set different schedules. One of my clients, she had harsh afternoon sunlight and she had those beautiful sheer shades. So but she likes her windows open. So during the day, they would be set at 3 o'clock. The shades of the family room would come down, beautiful veins would open up. So it would be filter that afternoon sunlight. And then we had them close at sunset. It's already taken care of. But we set that all up for her while her kids were at school. And then she did not tell them we did this. So don't you know, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, those shades all of a sudden started to come down. And those kids freaked out. They thought there was a ghost in the house. It was the best. She called me laughing hysterically. She's like, we got him good. So there's all sorts of fun you can have with motorization beyond just like the practical stuff. But playing around with it, figuring some of those out, because it's on your phone or your tablet, if you're away from home, you can open and close things, which is really great too. If you're out at lunch and it's 100-degree day and you're like, oh, I left all the shades open in the house, you can go ahead and close them. When they're on a schedule like that, they're going to open and close no matter what. So, if you're on vacation, your home doesn't look like it's sitting empty. It looks like people are there. So having them closed at sunset is one of my favorites. I know a lot of people that'll set a movie scene. So if they want, and they've got their lights connected to it too. So when I watch a movie, I want the lights to shut off. I want the shades to shut down. So that's a fun one. There's just lots of different stuff you can do that just make your home a little easier. I had another client we did, some of you guys have seen in our other coffee and curtains, those beautiful faux Roman shades I did with the inset banding, the white and gray ones. Underneath every single one of those, we did motorized roller shades. And we got those all installed. Her son, someone came to their house the next day and he said, come here, come here, come here. He was so excited. He's like, you have to see, Miss Rebecca gave us magic shades. And he's like, Alexa, close the shades. And down they came. And he was so excited that Miss Rebecca gave him magic shades. So they're a pretty powerful little tool. With the, see this IFTTT here, when we talked at the beginning about starting to narrow down the brand of our motors, our home automation systems, how we could integrate things together, that IFTT tool is really powerful. It is a third-party app that you can use to integrate other things. So if I have a Nest thermostat and I have Lutron lights and I have a Somfy roller shade, I can get all of those. When I make that movie scene, I can integrate everything so that the lights dim and the shades come down, and have it all integrated. Or if the temperature gets too hot in the house, that the shades come down. So there's a lot of things that you can integrate and do with those. Another one, I know people, not only do they like at when the sun sets for the shades to come out down, but the lights to come on. So when they come home from work, especially in the winter, they're not walking into a dark house. So you'd be able to set something up to allow you to do that. So there's a lot, like I said, this is, to me, these apps are where the power really lies in motorization, and where it allows you to do a lot of fun stuff. And besides the fact, like, we all always have our phones with us, right? I mean, you're probably going to lose a phone a lot less than you're going to lose a remote. So you're always able to open it and close your shades. You could be upstairs and you're like, oh, shoot, I forgot. I left everything open downstairs, and you can close it, which is a really nice feature. My daughter has the lights in her room that are automated, and on our app. So in the mornings, I will sometimes open her shade and turn on her lights to get her going, because then I don't have to walk in and be like, good morning, Maddie, get up. Those lights and the shade opens, and she knows it's time to get up and get going. So that helps in our house. Let's see. I think I had one more thing I was going to show you. Oh, and this is great. I love this video, and I put it in here because there's a cute little magician at the beginning that reminded me of Rebecca and her magic shades. So motorization really can be as simple or as complex as you want it to be. I have a client that we recently implemented a motorized roller shade below a beautiful valance in her kitchen, um, because she's short like me, and she was tired of trying to get something open and closed and reaching across a wet sink with dirty dishes and all of that. And so I mean, this is the remote that goes with hers. It's very simple. It's got an up and a down button, and it is not complex at all. She's not interested in doing anything else, but this made a huge difference for her. This was a big deal to have that one. It was that one window that was just getting on her nerves. She needed it taken care of. So it can be as simple as a single window that's really problematic to you, or a larger whole home automation integration project. These are a few of mine. This is one where we did almost the whole main floor, and this one as well. They just wanted that main floor motorized. They wanted the ease of use there. This bathtub, that is the only window in that house that is motorized. She really wanted the beauty of a Roman shade above her bathtub. And I said to her, she did have those top-down cellular shades before, so she could see those pretty trees. And I said, I'm just so concerned because I think you've lived with your top-down, bottom-up cellular shade about 3/4 of the way down. I think you'll just have this Roman shade closed all the time. And I'd hate for you not to get all the great natural light. What do you think about motorizing it? And she's like, I didn't even ever think about that. I didn't know that was an option. So we motorized it, and because I knew if she had to climb in and out of that bathtub to open and close that shade, she would keep it closed all the time. So we motorized that, and she loves it, and it works really great in her house. And it's just nice not have to climb into a bathtub. And this is Debbie's project where they motorize, again, the whole first floor. I'm finding main floors and master bedrooms and bathrooms tend to be the areas that most people are motorizing, or looking to motorize. Guest rooms and things like that, not as much. So these were a few of our projects. And like I said, it can be complex or it can be simple. I've got one we're getting ready to install where we're doing most of the first floor are dual shades. And what that means is there's 2 roller shades. So one is a solar shade and one is a light filtering shade. And in the master, we're doing a light filtering and a blackout shade. So each window has 2 motors. And I think there's a total of, there's over 40 motors on this project. So it's a really big project. We had a multi-page motorization plan, just trying to work out how many remotes we thought we needed. They really wanted wall switches. So figuring out how we wanted to do the wall switches for each room. So it was fun. It's fun. And I'm excited to get that one installed once we can get out of our houses again. But it's a fun project. And I just really love doing motorization.